Hey everyone, so I'm in Photoshop again and I want to show you a little trick here. Before I got started, I went ahead and made a copy of this layer here, and if you're like, I don't see it, the extra layer is right there. And you see I just kind of clicked. To make a copy, you just click on the layer, you click on these three dots here, and then you can hit duplicate layer. And it doesn't show it right now, but there it is. It's a duplicate of the layer. And if you want to get rid of it, you just hit delete layer. So again, I like to do that. I like to have a backup of things before I start manipulating them too much. So what I want to do now is take this image of Michael here and um, get rid of the background. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to click right here on this, and I see that there's an option that says select subject. So I'm going to click on that, and it's kind of actually pretty good. It doesn't always work. It works really well if the background is really clear and sharp and crisp, and it looks from what I'm seeing that looks pretty good. When I zoom in, I do see some problems, like look at his hair and his hands, and obviously this section of the wall right here was not deselected. So I do have some minor issues here that I need to fix. I think what I need to do is go back in and modify this. So to do that, and I'm still trying to figure out how to work Photoshop well. One thing I do know is that these two buttons right here, I don't know if you can see on my slider, like this one means I'm going to add to the selection, and this one means I'm going to subtract from it. So I'm wondering if I can come in here with maybe like the lasso tool and click on add to and sort of see how I'm just kind of drawing there. Oh, look at that, it did it. So I'm just adding to the selection. And it doesn't do a perfect job, but it does a pretty good job. And let me see if I can subtract from the selection a little bit here. So I'm going to go to subtract from selection. And I'm not going to be too careful drawing this in. I just, oh, look at that. It did subtract. It just didn't do a very good job. I think I can worry about that more later. I just want to make sure I don't cut off his fingers and things like that. So I'm going to go back to add to selection. And again, I'm just drawing. Yeah, I might have to exaggerate a little bit. I'd rather select too much and then just worry about that later. And I'll show you how to clean that up a little bit. But that looks a lot better. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the background. So to do that, I hit invert right here at the bottom. I don't know if you saw, look at the bottom, you can see the word invert, and then I hit erase. And that looks pretty good. And now that I have that, I'm going to hit deselect. And now I'm going to come in and do some cleanup. To do that, I think I'm just going to come in with my eraser tool. Now, again, you might need to think about the brush type you're using. For this, I'm going to use kind of you can see if I slide that up and down, I get a kind of a fuzzier brush. I think I want a fuzzier brush for this. And then where the 18 number is, that's the size. You can see I probably want a relatively small brush because I'm doing small details here. And yeah, and then here I am coming in, and you can't see, but if it's subtle, but I am slowly kind of erasing some of the detail that didn't quite disappear the first time around. So see, I'm erasing around there. So I can do some hand erasing too. I just have to be really careful in these areas. But I did a pretty good job, I think, of kind of cleaning this up. And if it's too distracting to see this with the background, I can take my background and make that invisible. And that just makes it clearer on what still needs to, oops, I gotta go back to that right layer, what still needs to be cleaned up. But that's kind of how you use this selection tool in this program. There might be more that I'm not showing you on how to do this. I'm still learning Photoshop. So if you learn anything that I don't know, feel free to shoot an email my way, or if you're in my class. But I'm just kind of curious, how you guys are learning with this one, because it's different from, right, Photoshop on the computer for sure. Okay.